Well, most of the crypto people I speak to expect a 4-year cycle. Mm-hmm. And they're adamant, that maybe
We know that AI is real technology. We know the companies are using it, but people still think that there's too much spending going on. There's this big bubble that's going to pop. The world's going to end. Stock market's going to crash. What do you think?
If we're measuring bubbles based on like risk reward, we're pretty far from it, because in 1998, September, which is similar to today because the Fed was on pause and then they started cutting again September 98, Cisco, which was the biggest company at the time, was trading at 56 times forward PE. 18 months later, it got to 210 times. Now, Cisco made a commodity router that had many competitors. NVIDIA today is the singular most scarce company in AI. They make a chip that everyone who is building a premier model needs. It's trading at 27 times forward earnings. Costco trades at 50 times forward earnings and Walmart's 34 times. So NVIDIA is still cheaper than a membership club company. So I'd say that's why we're pretty far from a bubble.
And how do you have a bubble if every time you hear an AI CEO open their mouth, they're like, we can't keep up with demand, right? And then on top of that, the earnings reports are coming out and there's companies that are $1 trillion+ market caps that are like, we're growing faster than we thought we were going to grow. We're driving more profitability with less employees, which means that they're becoming more efficient, more productive. Hence, they should be more valuable, right?
Yeah. And you make a key point, because I've experienced 3 bubbles in my 3 decades doing research. The biotech bubble was the most recent. The one before that was the housing bubble. And the one previous to that was the internet bubble. And 3 of 3 times, not only were people denying the existence of the bubble because they could explain it away, but we saw behaviors that were indicative of a bubble. In the biotech bubble, hedge funds, healthcare hedge funds, were funding university projects so they could get in front of the molecule. I mean, if that was like bubble behavior to me. And as you know, in housing, people were doing ludicrous and absurd things. That's not happening in AI. In fact, everyone's so measured in AI today that it doesn't feel like a bubble. There could be a bubble somewhere else in the markets, but it wouldn't be.
Gold's been on this historic run. Do you think it's real? Do you think it's manipulated? Do you think it can continue?
There's a lot of reasons gold probably is going up. And at Fundstrat, we don't do commodities. I kind of regret not recommending gold because it's been so great. Because generally, I like to be helping our clients be involved with things that are going up. So I think gold's move is like...
It's a good strategy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to fight it. And
what kind of business do you have? I help our clients' portfolios go up.
Yeah. So gold's been amazing. I think what's really stood out is that you can explain gold's move by just pure technicals. Like I was talking to our technician, Mark Newton, yesterday, and he says that gold had a cup and handle pattern that the breakout was July of this year. And so the measured move should have taken it up to where it is now. But let's say price leads fundamentals. I think that July is also the time that the stablecoin industry started printing a lot more creations. And as you know, there's been gold stablecoins and dollar-based stablecoins, but a lot of the dollar-based stablecoin issuers are over-collateralized. So I think the stablecoin industry has been printing a lot of dollars, they're over-collateralized, and I think they've been buying a lot of gold.
Interesting.
So I think that the stablecoin industry has been the newest bid for gold.
More so than even like a China central bank?
Yeah, because they've already been present. The central banks have been present for some time, but there's somebody new buying gold on top of the retail buying gold. And I think that would be my guess. Because, I've now there's like 7 or 8 gold stable coins. Yep. Plus, there's big stablecoin issuers. And so that could be the bid to gold. Now, does that mean gold is unlimited on the upside? I don't know. I'm not studying it, so I don't know. But I think it's very bullish for Bitcoin and Ethereum because...
Why?
Well, gold moves first, and then Bitcoin catches up. So I think that there is going to be... The network value of gold just went up by a lot. And so let's say gold settles at 5,000. That puts fair value of Bitcoin, like 1.6 to 2 million if it matches gold's network value. So I think it's actually helping Bitcoin's future terminal price.
This year, gold's up 60-ish%, Bitcoin's up 18 to 20% depending on the day. Do you think that on December 31st of 2025, we'll actually look back and could Bitcoin have outperformed gold in 2025, even though it has such a big lead right now?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of time. We have 10 weeks. As you know, Bitcoin makes its move in 10 days a year. So are Bitcoin's best days in the fourth quarter? Probably, because we have catalysts, the Fed's easing. We have a shutdown that's been risk off. We have China-US tensions that, look, every time there's a headline on China, like Bitcoin takes a gut punch, right? Because it is money flows and deleveraging. So that goes away. We have seasonality that favors stocks moving up. Stocks moving helps Bitcoin. So to me, the chances of Bitcoin having a huge fourth quarter are really high. And not all of these would be tailwinds for gold. So I wouldn't count. I still think it's possible for Bitcoin to hit 200,000 by the end of the year.
What about the 4-year cycle? Do you think that holds, or do you think that was something that was broken by the institutional participation in the ETFs? Well,
most of the crypto people I speak to expect a 4-year cycle. Mm-hmm. And they're adamant, that maybe Bitcoin peaks early next year. But as you know, when something is so strongly held, it's very unlikely to be true. So either Bitcoin's already peaked or we have a longer cycle. I'm more in the camp that it's a longer cycle.
But there would still be 50+% drawdowns in the future, or there's a kind of cycle is broken and you get something different?
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be 50% drawdowns because the stock market has more frequent 25% drawdowns. I mean, that's when, even though people realize, the stock market's made a lot of progress last 6 years, we've had an unusually large number of 25% drawdowns. Mm-hmm. And we probably have another S&P decline of 20% next year. So if the S&P is down 20, Bitcoin could be down 40.
This stock rally, you've called it the most hated rally. The recent sell-off because of Trump's tweet, you called a flesh wound. You're like uber bullish. I am as well, so I'm biased. But why do you think it's so hated? Why do these people want the market to go down? Why do they want the U.S. economy to tank?
Yeah, I can empirically show it's the most hated. One of the best measures of large investor sentiment is the AAII Net Bulls Index, bulls less bears, because it's been run for 40 years. This year, it's averaged minus 11.7. So every week, the weeks through this year. There's only 3 other times in the last 40 years it's registered negative 11.7. 1990 or more, 1990, 2008, and 2022. All were bear market years. So sentiment reads as if we're in a bear market and the market's up 15% year to date. Why is it the most hated? I think we show this in our research that it's based on political divide. So the country is 50-50 Republican Democratic. But in the stock market world, and there's Pew Research data on this, 57% of professional money managers are Democratic. 66% of hedge funds are Democratic, and something like 69% of venture capital funds are Democratic.
Interesting.
So the risk capital world didn't vote for Trump. So they view his policies as that of someone who is destabilizing to the economy. In the bond market, it flips. 80% of credit managers are Republican. So that's why this year the bond market hasn't been, high yield spreads have been stable, credit spreads have been stable, but the stock market's been volatile.
Well, if you go back to 2020, I remember living through that. And once we were on the other side of the recovery, I sat down with a group of friends and I said, is there anything that we could do that would be more disastrous for the US economy than lock everyone in their home, shut down their businesses, velocity of money goes to zero? And we're back to all-time highs, which then begs the question, Peter Lynch is famous for if you spend 13 minutes on economics, you spent 10 minutes too long. I don't know, in the 70s and 80s, maybe actually the stock fundamentals were more important than macro. Today, it almost kind of feels the opposite. Yes, you still need to pay attention to the company fundamentals, but what the Fed does or what is happening in terms of the momentum and kind of the sentiment online feels like it dominates the company fundamentals.
Yeah, that's true. But, in that 6-year period since COVID, earnings delivery has been amazing.
So substance has been there.
Yeah. So even this quarter, 85% of companies are beating results right now. and it's still going to result in basically 15% earnings growth.
Mhm.
I mean, so that's not late cycle earnings growth. Late cycle would be single digits. So companies are still finding ways to grow margins and earnings. And there's plenty of multiple expansion. I mean, financials, business results look more like tech companies now, but they still trade like financials. So I think there's a lot of groups that can re-rate.
And it's hard to quantify. So I don't know, what are like the comparisons, but the same way you have like inflation adjusted prices, there almost feels like there needs to be like a monetary premium adjusted share, multiple or something.
Yeah. And also people are willfully overlooking that valuations are actually, they're dynamic. From 1940 to 1967, the 10-year went from 2% to 6%. And everyone should say PE should have fallen in that 27-year period. The PE went from 8 times to 27 times. So in other words, as nominal rates rose, earnings accelerated, and so the PE went up. And that was in a time when 70% of the earnings generated were cyclical. Today, most of the earnings is recurring revenue in the S&P, which is higher multiple. And in fact, the 10-year bond is at 4%, it's at 25 PE. I mean, the bond market's expensive. So, so I think you're correct. I mean, plus in the last 5 years, we had 6 black swans. We had COVID. We had the supply chain bullwhip effect. We had an inflation bubble, the Fed's fastest hikes in history. We had the tariff terrors and U.S. bombing Iraq's nuclear facilities. 6 black swan events. And the market grew earnings during that time. I would argue PE should be higher because we just battle tested the stock market. So
what is your view 2026? Maybe as a place where we can close. Everything keeps going up. You mentioned an S&P correction of 20% earlier. I don't think people like hearing that.
Yeah.
Kind of what, maybe you can crypto stocks, etc. in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, it's early in the sense I can give you some generalized thoughts, but like I don't really have an idea of what the following year looks like until early December, because then we're only 1 month left in the prior market. Because this year, for instance, I think S&P gets to 7,000, right? But if we get to 9,000, then it pulls from next year. So, so price being a little unknown, I think there's a lot to be optimistic about in 2026 because one, monetary policy is easing, and that's room for mortgage rates to come down. And we know there's a huge pent-up market for not only housing to become more affordable, like through allowing capital to build cheaper homes and stuff, but for people to have relief from mortgages. The ISM, which is the benchmark of manufacturing confidence, has been below 50 for 32 months, the longest stretch in history. But once the Fed starts cutting, companies can get more confident. So the ISMs recover. That's great for the US economy. We know there's onshoring next year. That's GDP activity. And then AI, I think, is becoming, as you just pointed out, like robots, agentic, superintelligence. These are huge innovations coming next year that are good for earnings growth. So I think the earnings picture looks good. But how much is reflected in the stock price? We don't know yet. Like if we exit this year at 7,000, then there's plenty of room for stocks to do well next year. If we end the year at 8,000, then we're going to have a 30% drawdown. So
Okay.
Yeah.